Howdy Asa, welcome to my bed, where I am sadly recording a video because I am very lazy. And also it was awkward sitting in the spinny chair that creaks if you move the slightest amount. So this video is going to be a rant about the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment, and how it is portrayed in society, because it is mostly wrong. I'm like a kid who's grown up believing in Santa, finding out he's not real. I am annoyed. So, Schrodinger's cat, if you do not know, is a thought experiment that says, according to the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics, particles can exist in a thing called a superposition, where they can be in multiple states at the same time, and it is only the act of someone observing that particle that forces it to be in one of the select states, being like it could be in two positions, it could be here or here, and in reality it's in kind of a weird state of being in both positions, but once we look at it, it's either here or either here. Wow, I just flipped you guys the bird, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to. Hopefully the point still stands. So Schrodinger's cat is the thought experiment of, okay, well, if my particle can be either here or here, let's have a detector that says if it is here, break a flask of poison and kill a cat in a box, and if it's here, don't do that. And because it's theoretically in a superposition until we observe it, that means the cat is also in a superposition, except instead of being here, the cat is in a superposition of alive or dead. Now, if you've ever heard of this when you're a kid or growing up, or as like a trivia fact, it's always presented as this is how the world is, but that is neglecting the fact that it is saying this is how the world is if the Copenhagen interpretation is correct. And so, as a thought experiment that's shared, it is stated as if it is the true nature of the universe, when the reality is there's many different ways to interpret quantum mechanics, and in fact it is just complex math that we know describes how particles are and move and exist, but everything is so small at that scale we can't see it physically, so we don't know what it's really like. We just know how to explain the things we can measure. So the fact that it's stated as basically a way to indoctrinate people into the Copenhagen interpretation by saying that Schrodinger's cat is fact, and instead of saying it's a weird thought experiment that is only true in the instance of this interpretation of quantum mechanics. And the other fact is Schrodinger's cat was invented by Erwin Schrödinger to show that the Copenhagen interpretation is crazy and his disagreement for it. And it was him saying, this is absurd. A cat cannot be both dead and alive. This is clearly the wrong way to try and physically and philosophically interpret the mathematics we have called quantum mechanics. And so the fact that it's being used to say, this is true, look at how weird and crazy quantum mechanics is, because obviously the Copenhagen interpretation is correct, instead of being used to make people go, is that really the way we should be interpreting it? Because that's kind of a weird thing to get. Again, I'm not trying to say the Copenhagen interpretation is wrong, but it's not the only one out there, and it's definitely not the one that's correct. In the way, I mean, it may be correct, but it is not the one that everyone thinks is correct. And maybe I'm thinking I'm a bit smarter and know a bit more than I do, and when is that not the case with me? But I just wanted to complain because, like I said, it's always, when you hear about Schrodinger's cat, it's always like, wow, the world is weird. But in reality, it's just saying, if this one interpretation of abstract mathematics is true, then the world is this weird. So, it's not necessarily what would happen. Anyway, Asa, thank you for listening to me be crazy and rant, and I will see you on Monday.